Yo, what's up? So this time I'm going to be making a PvP tier list for the Divinates, legendary Divinates. Once again, this is the PTR server, so anything can, Lilith can still change what they want with the Divinates. And also, it is my opinion, what I mean by PvP is point war, knockout, and warm-up match. I will not be including holo battle because there's no incentive to do that. Let's get straight into it. Alright, so Donar, I think he would be in decent or either good or decent tier, because the problem with Donar is that he doesn't do anything before he gets his first turn. But with his Divinate, he starts off with the Conductor buff, which means he can actually counter some of the cleave teams. He's going to be a very good counter against like Tiye plus Ethan comps, because between Ethan and Tiye, that's already 4 hits. And he just needs one more hit to get 5 stacks. And then once he gets 5 stacks from his resonance, he actually gains an instant turn. Where is it? Yeah, there you go. It's R2. When Thunder Blessing reaches max stacks, he gains 1 turn. And it also helps him tank a little bit better, because now he gains HP and defense, dealing more damage and surviving better. Also, if you guys don't know, the Conductor boosts his defense by 20% per stack, so he's going to be a lot tankier. So if you're going to bring him against a cleave team that includes Tiye and Ethan, which is most of the cleave comps anyway, he's going to start off with the Conductor. Tiye moves, does 1 hit, and then Ethan moves, does 3 hits. So now there's 4 stacks, and then 1 more stack. If they are running Pin, then Pin does the S3. He instantly gains another turn, while also retaliating with the passive, doing a good amount of damage, and then he does his S3. Applies 1 more Conductor stack at 2 stacks. So now when they follow up with 3 more attacks, he's gonna retaliate with another Thundercrack passive. So he's gonna do insane amounts of damage. So I think he's gonna be in good tier. It actually makes him somewhat usable in PvP. Jinuya, I would say she's either in decent or good, because it says here, right here, at the end of a turn. So at D3, it is only still a 50% chance, but it helps her cycle way better. If you're going up against a speed cleave team that includes Tiye and Ethan, she pretty much gets no turn at all, because Tiye will hard focus, Tiye and Ethan will hard focus their S1 onto Jinuya, which means she's gonna get AP push every single time, which if she can't get a turn, she cannot cleanse the allies, she cannot use the S3, and she cannot do anything, right? This one is gonna help her slightly with the speed up. If it's at the end of any turn, including your ally, herself, or your enemies, then this could be decent. The flat HP is also very good for her to survive better, and she's one of those units that deal more damage the more HP that she has, because of her R4 right here. Alright, Tiye, at the end of a turn, the barrier has a 50% chance of getting recovery. I would say she's a no, maybe decent, but it's not really gonna add much. But since Tiye is an AoE Esper, she has AoE S3 and S2, recovery could be decent for her, but it's not really gonna change her game all that much, because whenever you have an AoE unit with AoE S3 and S2, they get counted like a lot of the time. The recovery could slightly help you, but again, it's not gonna be game changing. Now Yunchuan. At the start of a round, the barrier has a 100% chance of getting speed up for 1 turn. Yunchuan will be the first one to be in the must-have. Look at that, we have 1 of each. And the reason is because of one particular set. Gaining this 100% speed up for him before the round starts is actually insanely good, because his effects are not really that good, but the speed up is going to help you to get in the first turn for your other allies as well. And because of one particular set, which is the light set, he actually becomes the fastest AP pusher in the entire game, even faster than Tolland. Previously, you could use Tolland on the immunity set, so you can AP push your entire team by 10%. The immunity set is gains immunity for 1 turn at the start of combat. When it expires, all allies AP plus 10%. So you put this on Yunchuan, he actually becomes the fastest AP pusher, albeit it's only 10%. It is still 10% AP push at the end of the day. So if you have a tyranny set that's above like plus 180 speed, he will pretty much get the turn instantly, because the speed up is based on your total speed and it's not just based on your base speed. even though Yunchuan has a very low base speed, when you pair it up with all of the speed up that you're gonna get from gear, from speed lead, he's gonna get a flat 1.3 times speed boost, because speed up is based on your total speed and not your base speed. So yeah, if you don't have a really fast Tierney set, you can just put him on your not even your fastest wind set, you can just put on a wind set that is plus 180, and pretty much he's gonna get the first turn. He's gonna be faster than Tolland, he's gonna be faster than any other unit in the game. He's not gonna be that good for defense because one slot is wasted on Yunchuan, because he doesn't really offer anything else aside from the first turn. If you put him on your team on defense, then you might get clapped by defense team or pure tank teams. But for offense, he is just going to steamroll any of the speed cleave teams, because you gain the first turn and then you put your faster set on your second AP pusher. That way Yunchuan gets first turn, the immunity set procs, boost your second AP pusher by 10%, and then your second AP pusher can get the second turn. So yeah, Yunchuan is going to go straight to the must-have. If you are a speed player, even if you're not a speed player, you can actually use Yunchuan to outspeed most of the fastest players in the game. Lewis, when crit rate is higher, he gains more damage on his S3. I would just put him at decent, nothing too crazy to be honest. The flat attack is pretty good, but I mean, it's really iffy to use in PvP to be honest. Tank Xuan, when the barrier's HP is above 70, righteous damage plus 30%. Also, I would say he's pretty decent, but you don't really use him in PvP because he's very RNG based. You need him to proc the stuff for him to do decent damage. Most of the time you're gonna opt for other units that can do immediate and non-RNG damage rather than rely on Tan Xuan to, you know, pop off like crazy with his pursuit attacks. Raven, before casting Sunset, the barrier has a 100% chance of getting attacked up. This is actually pretty good because most of the time, if you're running a speed cleave without an AP pusher, your first turn is going to go to Tiye, which does not provide a attack up. Which means when she does her S3, Raven will follow up with an attack buff, which is very good. Narmer, at the start of a round, the barrier has a 100% chance to gain attack up for 2 turns. Narmer actually in PvP he becomes slightly better because when he gains a buff, he gets was it 1 stack of the burning stack? Yeah, for each 1 buff he gains 1 stack. So this one is gonna give him 1 stack, so it alleviates some of the burden for you to, you know, run a full support team with Narmer just to get his 12 stacks, right, if you have him at R2 and above. So I think he goes in decent tier, not really all that crazy. Maybe for the stats he could be bumped up to good tier, but you don't really see Narmer aside from one variant of team, and that's the team with like 4 supports and 1 armor, and you can't really use him anywhere else. The Leen is gonna go straight to shit tier. Loki is, again, I would say a no. Actually it's pretty decent since he's gonna be spamming his S1 a lot of the time. It's nice to apply the speed down because he only has 2 skills, right? His S3 and then his S1. So it is pretty decent to get like the speed down on his S1. Hyde is a must-have if you have him at R6. Anything below like R4, Hyde is almost unusable anyways. This Divinate system is going to help him from the basic stats that he's going to get. 100 attack and 6000 HP. That's massive. The effect is also pretty decent, but mostly just for the stats, which Hyde very desperately needs. Alright, Gaius, I'd say he's in good or decent tier. For now I'm gonna put in a good tier because you will mostly run him in a cleave team, and that plus 25% crit damage on the first turn is going to be very huge for him, and also the flat attack is going to be very good. Bayondina, her S1 now has a pursuit once per turn. She's gonna go straight to the no tier. She's pretty useless. You don't really see Bayondina being used anywhere unless if you have her at R6, and even still she's not really that useful. Gabrielle, she gains attack up on her S2, that's a no. Sally, when casting Ode to Joy, selects 3 random allies to cleanse. That's decent, I think. she already cleanses on her S3 whenever the ally takes a turn, but this is mostly for the when you're going up against teams that has multiple debuffs. Like for example, if you're going up against Ethan, this could be nice if you can get the turn. If you can get the turn against Tiye and Ethan comps, then this could be nice because then she cleanses 3 random allies, right? But I wouldn't go past good tier. I think Ollie would just go in the decent tier, to be honest. Sometimes you run Ollie with an attack up, then this effect is pretty much useless. But in some teams, you don't really run Ollie with an attack up unit, so it might be useful just to gain the attack up before he does his S3. But most of the time you're going to be building Ollie with like defensive substats and not really so much for his damage. He's just there for the speed lead and to save one ally. That's pretty much it. Unas, either no, I'm going to put him at no, because again 100% chance of granting one ally randomly, and it's only for 1 turn of the speed up, so I don't think it's going to be that impactful. And you're mostly going to use him in speed cleave teams anyway. You don't really use him in tag teams or anywhere else. Speed cleave teams, if you get the first turn, you pretty much win anyways, or you lose, and the effect of his Divinate is not going to be in fact impactful on the match in any way, shape or form, in my opinion. Lucas, I'm going to put him at decent. When he casts his S3, he gains speed up for 2 turns, maybe in the good tier, but you don't really see Lucas being used because of how bad his chance to strip is. It's only a 50% chance when you max skill him up. So if you're running Lucas as a buff stripper, then you're gonna lose most of the time. If you're running someone else to buff strip, then he could be very good because, you know, he gains a bunch of turns. Now when he casts his S3, he gains speed up as well. So I'll put him at decent just because he doesn't see much use in PvP, and even though the effect is pretty decent, I still wouldn't run him. Nusi, I would put her at decent because when you run her in a tank team, the defense up could be useful to tank some cleave teams, because for example, if you get the defense up on Jinuya and Ahmed, then they can survive the speed cleave team, or if you get it on something like Sally or something, it could be pretty good, and it's 2 random allies for 2 turns. I think that's pretty decent. Clara, she now cleanses 1 additional ally of the lowest HP. I'm gonna put her at decent. It's nothing too crazy. Yeah, just cleansing 1 additional debuff from the lowest HP percentage is not really gonna do much for you, because right now the current meta, there's not many debuffs going around except for maybe Hilda. This could be useful against Hilda, but again, it's only 1 debuff. Hilda does like 4 poison stacks, and this is only from to 1 ally with the lowest HP percentage. In my opinion, she's not going to be that impactful when it comes to the Divinate effects. Cecilia, at the start of Barret's turn, dispels a debuff if they are incapacitated. This would be decent in my opinion, because she does have a very good 3rd skill, which is a cleanse plus immunity. A full cleanse plus immunity is very good. If she can, if she is stunned, then she could proc out of the stun and then do this S3, which then cleanses all of your teammates, and that could be pretty decent. Sienna, I'd say she's a no. Before casting S1, she grants defense up to 1 random ally for 2 turns. She does cycle very well, but it's not really a game-breaking effect, and it's not really going to change her playstyle all that much. Tevor is going to go to the decent tier, maybe borderline good, but again, the plus 25% crit damage is not really going to do anything for you, because he already one-shots, unless you're going up against a full tank team that, you know, has attack up, the highest attack on 1 unit, the highest defense on 1 unit, and the highest HP on 1 unit. Then this could be useful for him to one-shot the highest attack unit, but that's the only scenario that I can see this one being useful. For now, I'm going to put him at decent because, again, the effect is kind of lackluster. I'm going to put Ahmed at good tier. When he casts his S3, or when his S3 is on cooldown, his S1 deals heals more, and because of the flat HP that he gets, he's gonna heal a lot more and also survive better. So for now, I'm gonna put him at good tier. Zhang Julie, he's not gonna go into the good tier because the unit itself kind of sucks. Right now I only run him in one team, which is Ollie, Abigail, Ahmed, and then Uday. That's the only team that I run him in. That team goes very well against tank teams that does not have any strip, but if the enemy team has any form of strip, then it just insta loses. The effect is very broken, which is when he enters demon mode, he inflicts stun. But then again, if you're going up against a unit like a Nusi or even Ethan, they can just cooldown increase JJ and he can't enter the demon mode and he's gonna do nothing, right? Even his stats are not looking too good. He gains very low attack and then HP, which in my opinion he does not need. So yeah, Zora is going to no. I wouldn't use her in PvP anymore. Elliot, between decent or no, the effect is kind of lackluster. When he casts his S3, he gains defense up for only 1 turn. Alright, Brewster is a bit tricky. I would either rank him must-have or good. If you don't have a Shren pin, he doesn't really pop off like crazy. But once you get a Shren pin, the reason why he's so good with a Shren pin is because the horse buff is going to linger on him longer than most fighter that you're gonna run with, because he does his damage outside of his turn from his assist, right? It's going to linger on him very long. That's why he's able to deal insane amounts of damage, but without his Shren pin, it's kind of difficult for him to work. It's still doable, but he's not going to be solo. He's not going to be a solo DPS against a tank team. That's what I mean. He's still very good though without a Shren pin, so that's why I'm going to put him at good tier. Abigail is going straight to no. Everett, either decent or no. For now I'm going to put him at decent because he does gain a significant amount of HP, and in RTA this could be pretty decent. When he has above 70% HP, then his S3 does plus 30% damage, right? Which is pretty okay. It's nothing too crazy, but still pretty decent. Ophelia, I'm going to put her at decent because she can be used in RTA, and with this effect she could potentially one-shot 3 units with her assist. So I think that's pretty decent, but she doesn't see much use in point war or knockout because again, single target DPS, they're kind of iffy to run. Leora, I would put her at decent. You're only gonna run her in speed cleave teams anyways, not so much in tank teams or any other team. It boosts her S3 damage by 20%, which could help you cleave tank teams better, but if you're going up against a speed cleave team, this damage boost is not going to be any relevant whatsoever because you're gonna one-shot them either way. Ashley, either decent or good, but again, once again, you're only gonna use Ashley in tank teams or in speed cleave team, and the effect is not gonna do much for her because she gains 1 rainbow bridge at the start of her turn. It could be useful if you run a speed cleave team where Ashley moves last, so that way when she gets a turn and she gets this rainbow bridge stack when she does her S3, then the S3 would be boosted by her rainbow bridge, right? Ife is going straight to no. The Fatum sisters, I would say they're a no as well because they don't really spam that much S1 compared to Tricky, because they have 3 skills, right? S3, S2, and then S1. So this effect is not really going to do much for you. Changji is going to go straight to decent. I wouldn't put him at good because he only gets the basic defense, basic stats from defense and HP. The effect is kind of throwaway. Once again, DPS characters, if they gain the flat attack by 600 and flat defense by 500 plus, they're gonna go straight to decent because it's gonna help them do more damage. So you can one-shot the enemy teams better. Elaine, no. Intisar, no. Leen, either decent or maybe good, but in my opinion, she's just decent. This one, again, it's only a 50% chance to grant 2 allies with immunity for 1 turn. What you can do is you run at least 3 of your units, or at least 4 of your units to be on immunity set, so that way when she grants this immunity, you can get the 10% AP boost from the immunity set, the light set, so you can actually get the turn 1 better that way, right? But that's the only use that I can see her with the Divinate system. Aside from that, it's kind of throwaway, and it's also a chance base, so you're not going to be running her on your offense team to rely on this 50% chance, but it could be decent in defense team when you run her in a speed cleave team, so that way you can get the additional 10% AP boost. Mateo, no or decent. I would put him at no. He hasn't seen any use in point war or knockout. He could be used in RTA, but that's better options at the end of the day. This one, plus 25% additional damage on his S3 when the target has a spark. It's not really gonna do much for him. Camille, either no or decent. I would put her at no, to be honest. Even though she gets like 600 attack, she is not really that much use in a cleave team unless you run her side by side with Ashley. So that way you don't really rely on her debuffs. But if you don't run her side by side with Ashley, then you're gonna have to rely on your debuffs, which you're gonna lose most of the time, because if the enemy has immunity, then you're not gonna land anything, or if you get resisted, then once again you're not gonna land anything, right? And her effect is only onto her S1, which does bleed. Yeah, in my opinion, she's a no. Yuuhime, even though the effect is very good, the barrier has a 100% chance of gaining one stack of Hell's Hand at the start of their turn, which means she can perpetuate an invincibility buff pretty much forever. But if the enemy has any form of strip or any form of buff steal, then she is going to straight up be pretty much useless, because she does almost no damage from her S3 and no damage on her S2, and she will only cast her S1 when there's only one enemy. So if you're going up against an enemy that does not run a buff strip or buff steal, then she would go straight to must have. But you don't really see that many teams without buff strip or buff steal, so I'm gonna put it at decent. Okay, Ethan, I would say he's a no. When casting S3, he grants defense up to 2 random allies only for 1 turn. That's kind of L. Embla is a no, she's not a PvP character. Yamato, between decent or good. The problem with Yamato is that whenever he casts his S3 onto his S2, he will lose all of the Rashomon stacks. But with this Divinate, he gains 60% crit rate from the Divinate system. So you just need to run a crit rate provider, then he goes back to 100% crit rate. And then his S1 now has an added effect of whenever he casts it, he has a 50% chance to reduce the cooldown of Thunder Surge by 1 turn, which is very good. If he can spam this skill, then he becomes a pretty decent AP control unit. You put him on Avatara, then he could reduce the cooldown of the S2, and then, you know, steal the enemy's AP while also providing your team with an AP boost as well. Actually, I'm gonna put Yamato at good. Yeah, I think this effect is very good on him. Shrine Pin, I would put her at no. The effect is kind of shit. The basic stats does allow her to survive better, but again, it's not really gonna do much for you. If you're running Shrine Pin, the match ends within like the first rotation of your allies. Javid, no. Genie, I would put her at decent. When she gains Chef Zest, then her S3 damage plus 30%. That's pretty good. She also gains a bunch of attack. I'm kind of contemplating to put her at good or decent. I'm gonna put her at good actually. Yeah, because she gains a pretty decent effect while also getting very good on the flat attack and HP so that she can survive better, and then attack so that she can do even more damage, right? So yeah, she's gonna go into the good tier. Valeria, if you have her at R2 and above, she could be decent, but she gets countered by buff block, buff strip, and yeah, she has many counters, and single target DPS once again is kinda iffy to run in point war and knockout. It's usable in RTA, but again, point war and knockout, you don't really see her being used. Even at R6, she's not being used all that much. Okay, Hilda, if you have her at R6, the Divinate system actually becomes decent for you, because it's one additional debuff that Tiye has to strip. So if the enemy does not run any buff strip except for Tiye, this defense up plus immunity plus shield buff, then the Tiye has a 1 in 3 chance to strip one of the debuffs, one of the buffs that isn't deep sleep buff. Because if Tiye removes your deep sleep buff on your R6 Hilda, then Hilda is not going to do her job, right? So yeah, I think this Divinate system, not because of the flat attack that she gets, flat attack and flat HP, because her damage is not based on her attack or defense, right? But most of the damage that's coming from her is going to be on the poison stacks. So this Divinate is mostly just to distract Tiye from removing any other debuffs except for your deep sleep buff. Okay, Norah, I'm gonna put her at decent or good. Actually, I'm gonna put her at good, because if you put Norah on your defense team at R2, you mostly will not run her with an attack buff unit. So you put her in your tank team, you will most likely not have a unit that is going to provide attack up, which means whenever she casts the Halcyon Harmonic, this effect is going to be very huge for her. She gains 100% chance of, she gains attack up to retaliate with the Halcyon Harmonic, right? So I think this is pretty decent along with the attack and HP for her to survive better. And lastly, we have Tolland. Either good, I wouldn't say he's a must-have, to be honest, because against a speed cleave team, this effect of his Divinate, which increases the target's cooldown to the max number of turns, it's not really going to do much. If you're running Tolland against speed cleave team, then the entire team just falls apart whenever you exile one of their units. Like say for example their AP pusher, right? So when their AP pusher is out of the game for 2 turns, your team can pretty much wipe the rest of the enemy team. Now you're in a situation where it's 5v1. So it doesn't really matter if the enemy has a cooldown or not, they're still going to lose 5v1. But this effect is pretty decent when it comes to tank teams. When you zero hour the Jinuya, which is most likely going to be the case because she is the fastest unit most of the time in the team, then the 0 hour will actually become extremely useful because Jinuya cannot cleanse any debuffs, or rather cannot cleanse any stuns from her S3, and because Tolland actually cycles his turn extremely well because he gains a bunch of speed, right? Whenever a turn is passed, he gains one of this trackback which gives him 10 speed at the max of 30 speed. So he cycles very well with his S3, which is only on a 4 turn cooldown. So whenever he spams his S3 onto Jinuya, Jinuya cannot do anything. She cannot cast her S3. It's also pretty decent against Hyde. Hyde cannot use this S2 or any other unit, right? Even Abigail, she cannot do anything. Even if you get out of the 0 hour, Abigail just pretty much become useless throughout the fight. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Must have Yunchuan if you're playing speed. Even if you are not a speed player, his Divinate is going to be insanely good, because as long as you can get the first turn with Yunchuan, which is very easy against any defense without a Yunchuan, because he gains speed up at the start of the battle, then you can follow up with your second AP pusher, and then you pretty much cleave, right? And then Hyde is here just because he is a stat hungry Esper. The effect is pretty decent, but mostly you're just gonna look at him for the stat boost. Donar, he gains very good effects on his Divinate and also the basic stats, and then the rest is just there. Brewster is borderline over here, but again, without Champagne, he's not really gonna pop off like crazy. Yeah, I think that's about it really. Let me know what you think of the tier list. That's about it. Ciao.